Microsoft Fabric. And a little bit about me, and my name is Udaiappa Ramachandran. You can shortly call me Udai. There is my website, there's a community profile and LinkedIn. You can, if you want to contact me through a LinkedIn, there is a LinkedIn URL. That's the Meetup URL. Agenda, we're going to introducing about a Microsoft Fabric, and then we're going to talk about how we can leverage the Copilot in the Microsoft Fabric. Then we'll go over the components of the Microsoft Fabric, some demos. So that's the Microsoft Fabric, right? Microsoft Fabric, combines the best of Microsoft business intelligence platform, like Azure Synapse Analytics and Azure Data Factory to create a unified single software as a service platform, right? With the core workloads. So if you talk about the Azure Synapse Analytics, you see there data engineering, data warehouse, data science. Those are part of this Synapse Analytics. So if you want to see the demo of Synapse Analytics, which is previous tools, which is not going to go away, you can go to this video, youtube.com/@nhcloud. You can watch this video. It has the complete end-to-end demo, all the details of what we're going to talk about in the space of Azure Synapse Analytics. And Fabric is a similar thing, but in a different core platform offered through Power BI. Okay, so if you take Azure Fabric, that comes with several components, right? So this is like if you think of Fabric as almost as an office for data, just like Office 365 has board for document authoring, PowerPoint for presentation, Excel for spreadsheets, etc. You can name it anything you want, right? In the Fabric, you have 7 different core workloads. That is a data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, data science, and real-time intelligence. And then industry solutions. Some ISV can bring their own solutions. Then the Power BI. Right? They all store data in the one lake. And then the Microsoft Purview is let you cleanse the data for sensitive information. For example, your company, your data comes in as a sensitive data like a social security or anything that qualified as a sensitive data can be cleansed through the Microsoft Purview, right? This is the core Microsoft Fabric. Again, it's the 4 wheelhouse, complete analytics platform, unified, software as a service. It brings the most secure and governance, right? It's a lake-centric. Everything is stored in the lake, one lake. There is no multiple copy floating around our centralized data. So one copy of the data working in, it has a multiple tier. It can support you based on the capacity that you need. It empowers every business user in your organization. It's very familiar, simple, intuitive interfaces built into a Microsoft M365 licensing package. It's go anywhere from insight to an action. AI-powered experiences. You can bring a Copilot in all the 7 different workloads, right? Every single workload, you can bring a Copilot and then ask Copilot to do something for you. Or you can ask a questions, Q&A with a Copilot and all the layers. You can do it pretty much. You do a interactive chat with the Copilot and all 7 workloads. We would see it in the demo. So we saw that there was 7 different workloads, right? Let's explore the first workload, which is the data factory, right? Data factory simplifies the data integration and the transformation across various sources. Microsoft says over 150 connectors, with the no-code or low-code operations. You can connect via the pipelines. And then the data flows. We will see what is the difference between data flow, data pipelines, but that is how you're going to bring like 150 pre-built connectors, or you can bring your own connectors, or even you talk to your own REST endpoint, or whatever way that you want to connect it. This is a hybrid connectivity. You can seamlessly integrate on-premises, cloud, and software as a service data sources for complete pipeline architecture. You can bring any data from anywhere. It's automation and scheduling. It provides the inbuilt triggering and monitoring, all those things to automate, and you can schedule it how often you want to run all the data pipeline process. The next workload is the data engineering, right? That's where we most of the time as a software engineer, we're going to spend a lot of time on the data engineering. It enables the great authoring experience, but it uses the Spark. In Spark, you can use the PyTorch programming, or you can use SQL programming, but that's how you're going to interact with the workload. It gives you a pool to work with it. and then able to collaborate with all the different components, right? It is optimized to lakehouse integration. It's an interactive notebook. We pretty much going to use Python or Spark to work with the data. It is a leverage distributed compute and Delta tables. Delta tables is the concept, is a lake tables for efficient big data processing and analytics. The third workload is the data warehouse. This is warehouse provides the converged lake house, and data warehouse experience the industry leading SQL performance. It's a high performance SQL server. Okay, it provides a massive parallel processing. They call it as the MPP architecture for a high performance query execution on structured data. The semantic model integration, it brings the advanced modeling for seamless connectivity to a Power BI and consistent metrics definitions. Combines the columnar storage, not like the row type storage. It gives the columnar storage, and then the data compression for cost effective in terms of size, and then the better performance and analytics scalability. The next workload is the data science, right? And we are not going to spend a lot of time today on the data science. This is mainly, data science provides an end-to-end workflow for data scientists to build sophisticated AI models. That helps them to collaborate easily. Maybe they want to train the model and then deploy it and manage machine language models and so on, right? So its main purpose is to integrate with the machine learning workflows, training the data and then seamless deployment, all those things. The data scientist will use this. The next workload is the real-time intelligence. Real-time intelligence, previously called real-time analytics, and then the data activator. They combined it together is called real-time intelligence, right? So you can ingest streaming data with high volume, dynamically transform streaming data, query data in real time, for instant insights. It trigger an action like alerting, like anomalies. For example, you process the credit card and you can say the credit card fraudulence, right? Or any anomalies that you want. The equipment overheating, then there is anomalies, right? So it can tell you, okay, your equipment is overheating. So this kind of anomalies detection, and then instantly it can alert. The alert can be a messaging or email, you name it, anything you want it, or maybe triggering another system. That's completely event-driven architecture. It's mainly integrated with the IoT event hubs and IoT services. That's one best example. But you can load any data you may want to. But those are the areas you're going to get a massive data continuously streaming into your system. The next one is a Power BI. Power BI is the visualization tool. You have the data now. And then the semantic data you can enter into the Power BI, so your business users can easily interact with the data and ask. The Copilot let you go a little friendly way. You can ask a question by looking at the report. You can ask a question. So okay, instead of predefining those reports, you can interact in a chat mode, and then you can ask a question about that report, and your system will answer. The OpenAI, they integrate to the OpenAI that will answer your questions interactively. Okay. The next one is Copilot and Microsoft Fabric. As you see the diagram over here, this diagram, you have the data factory, all the 7 core workloads, and then those workloads can be enabled the Copilot. We'll look at it how you can enable the Copilot. Okay. In the data factory Copilot, you can get intelligence code generation to transform data with easier code explanation. So we can understand, we can write a better code. Data engineering, when you enable a Copilot on the data engineering workload or the data science workload, it generally creates the code in a notebook so you can interact with it. You don't need to memorize and you don't need to search around the internet. It can help you from your data. It takes your data, send it schemas and data, it sends it to OpenAI, and then it helps you to generate based on the programming language you are. If you are in a Spark, it gives you the syntax. And if you're on a KQL, it gives you that syntax. If you're on a SQL, it gives you that syntax. In the data warehouse, the Copilot helps write a T-SQL statement. Data warehouse is nothing but a SQL server, right? So it helps you to write a T-SQL statement. In the real-time intelligence, it can translate questions into a KQL. The real-time intelligence is always using the KQL, the custom query language. If you use a Microsoft Azure application Insight, you're most likely familiar with the KQL query syntax. And that's how you're going to use it when you ask questions. It can generate a KQL for you, and then you can take the KQL and run it interactively with the data, and you get the output. Okay, and again, the Power BI, as I said before, from the Power BI, you have the report predefined, say, for example, sales report or anything you name it, and then the end user can chat with that report. Okay, so if they're not getting something from the report, they can ask a question, and then it can provide you an answer, or can even redefine that report the way that you're looking for. All right. So in order to use a Copilot in the Microsoft Fabric, there are certain steps I'll walk you through while in the demo. Skip this one. So let's get into some demo. Any questions so far? So the key takeaway is we have the Fabric. Fabric contains one or more workloads. In this case, there are 7 workloads. The databases, you can technically bring any databases. The industry solution is nothing but ISP that providing that, the workload integrations. Okay. And we're going to explore mostly everything minus the data science here. And by end of this talk, I'm sure you should be able to understand what is Microsoft Fabric, how we can enable Copilot into the Fabric, how we can chat it. All right. So let's go back here. This is the portal. Okay, so if we go back to the slide and end of the meeting, you can download. When we upload the video, we will have the slide to download. This is the core UI URL that you go there, and then go to the tenant settings. Right. You only have to do, if you need a Copilot, look for OpenAI. Right. So you need to enable. You need to consent it. Your organization is enabled for Copilot to use, because it's going to take your data, right? Take your schema and send back to the OpenAI. So you have to acknowledge them. Okay. Entire organization or something. The second thing is, if your data outside of the supported regions, right? In the Power Fabric. When you create a Microsoft Fabric, it only, you have supported regions. I provided a link where what are all the regions is supported. But if your service runs outside, if your data is stored outside of that region, it needs to take the data and move it outside, right? So in that case, you also need to consent to that. And one good example is European EU GDPR policies. If you want to try move the data outside of that region, then you have to consent with that. Otherwise, this feature is not going to work. Okay, that's the first thing you do. That's only you have to do for the Copilot integration for the Microsoft Fabric. Now let's work on the Fabric. Go to portal.azure.com, login. Right, so I'm going to make sure I write subscription. Okay, I'm going to write subscription. Okay. So I'm going to create a resource. I'm going to look for Microsoft Fabric. Okay, so I click Microsoft Fabric. I have it here. I click on it. Okay, so I create. And I can name it anything I want. And I'm going to go new resource, so I can easily delete it. RG- image demo 01, for example. I say that, and then I'm going to say capacity name, image demo 01, and I keep the region. It seems to be that region seems to work better. I tried multiple other regions are working great. And then I say my change size, right? Here is the size. So you technically you provisioning the capacity. Within this capacity, all the workload you're going to run. Okay. In this capacity, if you are if you are playing with something, start from the 262, but you have small data you want to learn, you can use that. But if you want to experiment the Copilot with the Microsoft Fabric, you must use F64. As you can see, the cost is pretty high. Okay. In our demo, we're going to use a Copilot, so we're going to select that. But that's okay for, you're going to leave it for 1 hour. That's going to be about $9. I'm fine. Okay. Select it. And then next to tag, then create. Then once it's done, it's going to create. Okay. So now we created it's not going to take a lot of time. It may take like less than 30 seconds, and your Fabric capacity is created. Okay. So in the Fabric capacity, we're going to talk a lot about the data lake or one lake, a lake house or one lake, right? So one lake uses oftentimes in the one lake, we're going to talk about the data lake Gen 2, which is what you used to buy Azure Snaps. How you create a data lake Gen 2. So I'm going to go back to this source here. If I want to create another storage engine that is enabled with the data lake Gen 2, so you go and look for the storage, okay, and then you say storage account, and then it is popular, there is storage account, right? And then you create it, you name it STNHDemo01, right? I'll leave it in the same thing, and then I can leave it centered. Excuse me. So it says here primary service. Okay, I select that one. Okay, I'll tell you what it does. Next, and you need to enable this hierarchy. Okay, the hierarchy namespace, if we don't enable it, it's not going to be compatible with the data lake storage Gen 2. But when we talk about the connectors, we are going to work with the data lake Gen 2. So we will have to enable the hierarchical namespace. Then you can sort of lab.windows.net, you can say adf.windows.net. Okay. And then you can leave the other parameter, the next, and networking, data protection, next. Those are things are optional. The only main thing, if you want to create Azure data lake storage event Gen 2, then you must enable the hierarchy thing. All right, let it create. Now let's go back. Let's talk about how we can explore those workloads, right? We talked about 7 workloads. So you click over here, you see all the workloads. So once you come in over here, if you properly license and you have the access to your organization tenant, then you come back and you go to the Power BI interface. Okay, so this is slightly different. Every Azure service, you go to Azure, you work within the Azure portal, right? But the Microsoft Fabric is built into the Microsoft Power BI, right? So you have to come back to this interface, app.powerbi.com, and then use it. If you use Azure Snaps Analytics, that you can still work within the Azure portal and all those things. So click on the data engine. So you get a lot of things to see in the data engine. What you need, the very first thing is the workspace. That's what you need. So you create the workspace and then say NHDemo 01, okay. Then you get a little subscription, little domain if you want to partition in a different way, and then the advanced, areas more, right? Pro, Trial, Premium. But we're going to use, as I said before, we're going to explore a little bit of Copilot. So we need to select the Fabric capacity. And, either we can use a large semantic model or small semantic model based on your need, how much, you want to get out of the LLM, you're going to select it. But in this case, we're going to do a little thing. So we're going to do a small semantic model. The other reason is, it's a demo, it will perform better. And you can select the capacity. It will display all the capacity. Sometimes this may go wrong. So I already provisioned another capacity a few hours ago. But let's use the capacity that we just provisioned. Okay. And then you can use the develop template apps. That may give you some templates, but I did not explore it. But let's stop this level. I select this capacity that we just selected. Right. So then you say apply, and it creates that workspace. Okay. From this workspace, it's just a workspace, right? From here you're going to bring all the workloads. Okay. So there is a workload data pipeline, data flow Gen 1. We are not going to use it. Gen 2 is the latest, so obviously we're going to use Gen 2. And if you need real-time analytics, we're going to use event stream. You can do some Spark to see some code and notebook to decode everything. We would bring it over there, right? So copy job to copy data from one place to other place. You name it, anything. But in this particular case, you want a house again for the real-time analytics. You will see it in the lake house for the one lake is part of the lake house. Okay, the lake house, and then you can put a one. So I'm going to select that one. So I'm going to call it as image demo. Okay. If you select this lake of schema, it gives a schema part of the SQL. But again, it's a public preview. You don't need to. It just structures one level down. So you have the node, and then you have the schema, which is schema, for example, DBO, you name it, anything, right? DBO or any other schema. And then it puts the table. But in this case, we'll skip that one. We'll create. The only difference is it nests under the schema if I check that box. So now we have the lake created. When you create a lake house, it gives you these two nodes. One is a table, another one is the file. From here, you can go data pipelines, which is part of the data factory. So as I said before, right? So we are exploring everything now is the data engineering. Data engineering itself is not going to be very helpful unless you bring some data into it. That's where data factory come into a picture. Data factory, you can effectively leverage data between data flow and the data pipelines, right? But let's do very simple things. In the files, there is no tables, no files, right? So let's create some files. Okay, so we can go and then upload some files, or we can upload folders if you have multiple files, and then you can do all the querying across the files. Okay, so let's do a simple files over here. I'm going to go back. Okay, I'm going to go sales and then upload it. Okay, so this has the sales data. Okay, so this is done. I close it. I have sales data. But now what I can do with these files, right? You can open a notebook and then start querying that file. You will see it momentarily. Or you can convert them to table and then use little SQL syntax to do the way, right? So now what I can do, I can do two ways. I can go here, load tables on a new table. Okay, it gives you the delta, so which is a delta table. Okay, new table. Or I can drag and drop. They're both going to launch the same window. If I go here and then click on the new table, or I drag and drop, it's going to give me the same tile, right? And then I give the name. Let's leave it as sales, and that's separated and then load. Okay. Now, if we expand it, you can refresh this one. Still doing it. It's a 3 MB file, right? It's creating. So if you expand that further, you have all columns that part of that CSV file. This CSV file, I'll give you the link you can download from the Microsoft site. But now we have these. Now from here, you can do what you want to do, right? So there is one more concept that I want to explain over here. Create a shortcut. The shortcut is what gives you your data source can be multiple different locations. For example, it can be in data lake Gen 2 or storage or Amazon AWS or Google Cloud Storage, wherever it is, the shortcut will give you to connect to the destination and bring it over here. Once you bring the connection over here, now you can effectively query the data, convert to the table, or convert to the view, whatever you want, you can play with it. But we will see it now, right? Right now, we play with the very simple files for you. Okay. So now if you look at it over here, this is the lakehouse view that you're doing it. But if you want to look at it in a SQL view, then you can go back to the SQL endpoint, then it will change to a SQL endpoint. Now it gives you we know about the SQL server, right? It has the table says, views and functions and store block and so on. Now, if you want to run a query, you can run a query here now and then do a select, start from this and then run it. Right, and it's going to execute. Now you can see what is going on over here. 5 seconds. What was it? Top 10. Okay, so you see the data over. Got it. Now, if you want to report this, you can go back to the reporting and then you do a new report, right? So it says over here, and then you continue. Right. Then you continue over here, and then, so now you have the sales table, and then you can select the columns. Say, for example, I want to select the item by quantity. and then it displays the thing, and you want the graph over here, and then you can select from the graph, and then it displays, right? So now you build the table. So I just went through from 0 to 100 in a very from the data engineering plane, right? Data engineering plane, I went from 0 to 100. I bring the data, I query the data. Now I create a Power BI. Now let's look at the Copilot over here. So as soon as the moment you click the Copilot, I have the Copilot. If you are not properly configured Copilot, or if you do not have enough license, or if you're not picking the right capacity, your Copilot window will be grayed out. Okay, you won't be able to use it. And then you pick the largest size, one of the largest size, F64, is just to explore this Copilot. Okay, so this gives you some idea what you can do. Okay, what is in my data? Okay. Suggest for a new report page. All right, and then you create a report that shows, you can build the report and so on. So let's take what they provided over here, right? So what is in my data? So you ask what is in my data. It sends the data to OpenAI and then analyzes. So why it sends it? You already consented. It's okay to send to OpenAI. Okay, this data set provide compliance and all of this, right? These are something. These are working. Copilot is working. So now if you look at this graph over here, what is the most sold items? The water bottle. So how about I don't know what is most sold item. So I'm going to ask, what is the most sold item? So I'm going to run it. And it tells me water packet. No, it's 30-ounce water packet. Okay, so what is the least sold item? Okay, so, and then you enter that and it's going to give you. So that's how you chat with your data. And then I see it's suggested over here, right? And it says new report, suggest the content for a new report page. I know I have this report, but this report may not be enough for my business. So I can say, suggest some content for the new report. It's going to take what we have and then talk to the OpenAI and then come back with a sales performance report. So you can ask, okay, why don't you create it? Okay, so create it. While I'm waiting for things like these, feel free to shoot any question that you may have. Dan, who is on the other side monitoring. Okay, so now you look at it. Did you do anything? No, Power BI, Copilot did it. Right? So Copilot now created the sales amount over time trends, quantity sold over time trends, sale amount by customer, quantity sold by items. What beautiful it is. You don't have to do anything. If you have to do in today's world without AI, you have to hire a Power BI engineer. You have to spend like hours to days to week to build this report. That's a lot of money than paying for that F64. I think that's cheaper. Right? So $9, we got this report built in over here. Now we can save it and consume this report further. Okay. So now we gone from 0 to 100. We know the administrator of the Power BI. We know the number of workloads. We picked the workload called data engineering, and then we created the lake workspace. Then we get a lake, and then we import a file. And then you work with the file by querying the file. Now we come back to the Power BI, we clicked on the Copilot, we analyzed our data, and then we asked some actionable items, right? We asked the Copilot, hey, can you create some Power BI report for me, right? So we asked, and then it says, okay, do you want me to, we asked some suggestions, what I can create a Power BI report, and he came up with the suggestions. In the action bar, we said, okay, go and create it. And it would create the Power BI report. It's all happened, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, it's all happens. Right? This is not possible without a Copilot. Copilot is amazing. Okay. So now let's resume, go back to what we have. We can save this report, so we don't have to lose, and we're going to say it's my report. NH, will give consistent name. NH demo 01 and code 1. Copilot creating it, we're saving it, and now we can share this report with our organization, our group of people, or maybe you can share outside of it. Okay, so it's up to you. But the bottom line, we were able to use a Copilot to do what we want with the part here. We'll see how we can use a Copilot and all the other different ones.
Udai, I have one question on the report.
Yeah.
So let's say you create the report. Can you go back and then cancel the Copilot and then a month later still run the report like you use?
Yeah, this report is created. That's it. This report is created. Now you can go and cancel it. You have the Copilot, you have the Copilot license to interact with the Copilot. But now you have the report, you can download this. I believe there is the option to, they used to be good at Power BI. Download this file. Now, if I download this file, right, it's going to download to my local machine. Now I can use a Power BI desktop to modify this and then check into my code repository and then manage it from that point. I think the answer is yes. Nobody can prevent that. I don't think they're going to tag it that you can only run when you have the Copilot license. Yes, I think my answer is yes, but I would check carefully.
Okay, all right. Well, that sounds very interesting. So I could try Copilot, create the report, and then I can have the report in the future to see every month or something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, cool.
That's all we do today, right? We go to Copilot subscription, chat.openai.com. We ask something, and then we decommission. We keep the data with us, right? Whatever we learn from that, we are not, I think the same concept will apply here, but I will carefully check with the other documentation. But I believe you can do what you just asked.
Well, it's very powerful.
Continue. Right. So now we go back to the data engineering. We saw that, right? But right now what we did was we take one static file, we put them over there, we upload it. That may not be more effective, right? That's not something that you want. You want to do a real-time time series data. So how you can get the time series data to over there? Okay. So the one way you can, in this demo, what I'm going to use time series data from the application insight. Maybe you guys know about it. What is application insight? Application insight, you can have a series of time series data stored from the multiple different data sources that you write into the application insight. So you go to the log analytics workspace and then you do export of the data, right? That export of the data is a time series data. It can be every 5 minutes or it can be a 1 hour and so on, you name it. Okay, so that export is. So to demonstrate that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open one time series over here. So I'm going to go open new tab. Click on it. Right. So I'm going to go this one, log AG scan 61, right? This is a log analytics. Under the hood, there is a application, right? And you can only export from the log analytics. You do a data export. I already have a one export, but you can enable as many export as you want. But this again, you be careful, read everything. It looks easy to click, right? Tempting to click, but it's all cost attached to it. You see the new export rule, and then you send the name, rule name, okay, and then you click next, and then it's going to come back all the tables, right? These are all the tables that we have it in the system. Okay, so you can say, I want to export the time. This is a time series data. I want to export alert. I want to export availability result. I want to export browser timing. Maybe the application request and page views. You name it, anything you want, right? Then you say next. And then it's going to ask a storage account. Which storage account do you want me to export it? You pick the subscription, you pick the storage account. We just created one called SPNH demo 01. And then you click next. And then you click create. And now this is going to constantly export, right? To this Java test is going to export it. But I'm going to delete it. I already exported it. Okay. So I have a DL export. If you look at the DL export, that export is going to go STFAB demo by right. Okay, so this is going to go over there. I selected all the units. Okay, just for fun. So if I go back to the home, I look at the data table. Okay, I look at the storage browser. Right, this is the difference. So if you look at the containers, if it is data like Gen 2, you see the different icons. Okay. If it is a blob, you see different icons. You probably know if you look at the blob containers, they will have similar blob icons, but not like this. This is the data lake icons. Okay, and we have all the uploads with separate containers. As data comes in, it's going to upload. Even though I selected 18 different events, I only got a data from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events. Other buckets did not have a data, so it not sent it. The moment I receive a data on the other buckets, and that's going to export over here. Okay. So let's say explore the app first, because this is the dummy data. So it's easy to see the data, right? So it's exporting this way. So I have the subscription resource, providers, their own workspace, log, year, then month, which is the 12th month, and day. And I did create that yesterday, and then day 11. And then it has the hour 0, like the midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. In the hour 0, and there is a minute. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 55. And then when the 16 comes, it's going to go back to the next hour. Okay, this is time series data. It's created this data. Now, how you can analyze this data? This is complicated data, right? So, if you going to leave it for like, if you look at it over here, in the year 2024, this is just a month 12. If you go next month, it's going to be a Jan 2025. We go to next month after next month, it's going to be a February 2025. And every hour, every day, that's a volume of files of data collected. Well, how you can bring this data into your data engineering using the data pipeline, and how you can analyze. So let's see that. So this data is configured. It's exported over here. So now let's go back to the other one. What we're going to do here, data engineering, right? Is the data engineering. Go back to the workspace. I'm going to select my workspace, and then I'm going to say new item. In this case, I'm going to say data pipeline. Okay, so I said new item. I'm going to say data pipeline. It says the data pipeline. You get the point, and I don't want to type something wrong, so that's why I'm more keen about spelling that one. Okay, so right, that is the job. Okay, so you're creating a data pipeline over here. Then you can say now pipeline activity. Okay, it's a copy data, because we're going to copy from the JSON format to hotkey format. So you say copy data. Okay, and then here you have the thing over here, source. And I already have the source called ADFS, right? So how this source is available over here? Remember, I said a shortcut. So if I have to explain your shortcut again, let's go back to this one, demo lake, opening. Let's go back over here. I'll come back to that. So you get me, I'll come back. See here, source. I'm going to select this one, okay? And then it's going to give me what I want to browse. This is source, right? I'm pointing to that storage account that I shared with you a few minutes ago. Okay, it's going to pull all the root folders. Remember, app request is what we were talking about. So that's going to say app request. Okay, and we are not going to pick any particular file. If you're only looking for one file, you can pick the file. But in this case, we're going to do everything, every file. So we're going to say okay. All right. This format is in a JSON format, so that's a source format. Even if you mess up the source format, it will still work. But the destination format is what very important. So what we're going to do here is you already have a data, but if something goes wrong, we can refer the data out, but now it is out too. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, destination, you're going to select the same demo. So this is the difference I told you, right? So if you're not enabling the data lake Gen 2, you will have to connect through the blob. If you enable data lake Gen 2, then you can go DFS, okay? So I do there, and then I see the browse. This may not bring the container we just created. Okay, it brought it. All right, so I selected that. Then say okay. Okay, and then format is, we're going to go back to the hotkey format, right? Then you can look at it, all the other things, parameter. And then if you want a mapping, you can look at some mappings from there to here, but in this case, we don't need it. And then you just validate, has been validated, close that one, then you just run it. Okay, save on. So it's running. We will see the output in the bottom. Okay, still running on it. So let's create it here. Okay, it is completed, right? So this is completed. Now let's go back to our data lake, which is the NH demo data lake. If we were in the SQL analytics endpoint view. right? So we have to go back to the lakehouse. So we go back to the lakehouse view. If you look at it, it's putting it over there, but we haven't created the shortcut yet. Okay, so we're going to create a shortcut, new shortcut to bring the data over here. That shortcut is going to be Azure Data Lake Gen 2, and then that is the ADFS 1. If you want to get a new data lake, new connection, then it'll give you a couple of wizards. You can select the URL. Because we picked it up there as a data lake storage gen, then it asks you, and then you complete the information that it do. I already created it, so I'm going to pick the one that we just operating. Okay, and I click next. And it tells me all the tables available, right? So I'm going to pick this table. This is what we just created. Just for, there's a couple of other things I want to show. I also, because what is in this table is not going to available this table for next few minutes. So I'm going to select both tables. So I click next, and then I create. Okay, I got the data. Now I forgot to bring one more table. So let's go new query, data lake, existing, next. I'm also going to bring the original table, which is that one. Next, create. Okay. Now I got all these three things, but these are not loaded to the table. So only if you load it to the table, only you can query it, right? SQL like syntax. This triangle symbol tells you it's a delta table. Okay. So for this, we're going to use data science notebook. Okay, so you're going to create a notebook. So you can open an existing notebook or create a new notebook. So let's go new notebook here. Okay. So in this notebook, what we're going to do, you click on the lake house where you are. It's going to open it. And then, for example, you look at this file, look at this file, look at this file. Okay, so this is going to go pretty recursive. You can select workspace, Y, to 11, maybe let's do, I don't know, I'll pick this one, okay? And then AM0, and then there is a file. And you can say load data frame. You can load in a Spark or Pandas, but in this case, we can load Spark all the time. This is another thing. Okay, so you load in a Spark, it's going to analyze that file, okay, and then emit the data. It's going to take, I didn't run it, so I'm going to run that file. Okay, so you got the data. There is the one row over here, but it's just a one file. But now look at the cool thing is, how can I query all the files, right? So I'm going to copy this syntax over, and then I'm going to create another code window. Okay, and paste it. Now what I'm going to do in this code window, I'm going to put everything as a star. This is going to be a star. This is going to be a star. So I'm going to go from the root. I'm going to query everything. This is going to be a star. This is going to be a star. Going to be a star. And then it's going to look at that file. If I run it over here, it may take us some time because now we are going from all the way from, this folder to everything that contains the file PTM5, PT5M means every 5 minutes file. But you can also, I don't know, before you can configure PT1H, which is every 1 hour file, but now they do 5 minutes files. So it's going to come, the job is succeeded. So it's working on it. Okay, so you got the data, right? That's a lot of data. It's not going to tell you or give you all the data. It will have some threshold, 1 to 565. But yeah, maybe it's all about all the data. It's the test data. It's not the real data, right? So you got all the data. But now how you can load this into a table? You can use a Spark syntax to load this into a table. But as I said before, this contains the JSON formats, a lot of file, wasting a lot of time, and it is converted into the Parquet format, right? The configuration. Yes. Okay. Let's go here. I think when we configured, we did something. I don't know what we did, but didn't create the Parquet format. But here is the file, right? So you can click on this file and then load it on the frame Spark. Okay, so this is going to load it. That's the content stuff, all the data over here. Now it's in the one file, but it can slice that file. Remember, when you run the data pipeline, there is a way to slice how you want to configure all those things via settings. But if you run it, that's the same data is going to come in. the same data will display over here. Now we had a JSON file, which is the time series that log analytics is constantly exporting every 5 minutes. Now you have a job that takes the data and that convert to a Parquet format. It's better, efficient, faster, and smaller size, columnar. So that's why you convert to the Parquet format. From the Parquet format, you're going to create the table so you can effectively run the SQL queries, right? Now, in order to do that, you have to run some syntax, and I'm going to copy some syntax from my ink over here. Here is a syntax. Say copy it. Either just like how we did the star before, you can also say star.parking. So now we're going to go here, open a new code window, and then we paste this syntax. I'm going to say image demo table. And we said star.parking fine, right? I said that, right? So here you can do the same thing. You can the query also you can do the same. One file or star.parking. This contains data. All the files will be under. So we created the table name is going to be this, and this is going to be this. And then I'm going to run this one. Okay, so this is done. So if you go refresh this tables over here, this has the table that we just created. This has columns and all those things that we created. Now you can do click on it. If you want to change to if you want to query it, you can query it. Okay? Or you load up data in a Spark, it's going to give the Spark syntax. This is how you're going to run in a Spark syntax. So you go to 1000 and then you run it. Or you can change it to the SQL mode and use the typical SQL queries. Okay, please. Got it? So this is a static way of putting the table, and you can notice there is no delta symbol, but when you create the table, we did not say it's a delta syntax, or we just said export. So that's why you don't see the delta symbol over here. Otherwise, it will be delta symbols. Now you have the tables. Now you can now you have the table. Now you can create a Power BI and look at the insights and so on. Right? If you look at Copilot over here, we are right now in what data engineering, and if you click on the Copilot, you can start asking questions in here. Okay, load data from the lake goes into a data frame, generate insights from the data for just data visualizations, right? So that's the thing, if you want to look at other prompt, you can look at it over here. So every single workload that Microsoft offers, once you enable the Copilot, and you can come back and chat. Before we were chatting with the Power BI, the report. Now you can chat with the data engineering blade. If you have a question, you don't know what to write the syntax, right? You can do that. Say, for example, you're going to ask here in the one of the query. Let's see that. How do I create delta table? Follow the query. So run this cell. Okay, I run the cell. It tells me, okay, you have to activate something. All right, great. I activated it. Now try again. Okay, so it did something, I guess. Now try again. That's gone crazy. We'll have to close and come back. Okay, so. Yeah, this is possible. Every time that I do something, that something goes crazy. So I go to the data engineering. Maybe I reload the page. Crazy. All right, let's go back down. Find that. So ask the question. You get my point. I know sometimes it can go crazy, but you get my point. Let's not waste time. Okay. So now we export the data pipeline, data engineering. We need some data science by querying the data. Okay, it queues me over here. Table name, NHTML table, assign the table name, external file location, df write, Parquet mode, overwrite, option path. We have it. Save as table name, but it's still not telling me how to get a data table. Okay. That's the table syntax. It's trying to explain me what it is over here. Path, save as table. Okay, anyway, you got the point. Okay. Now let's look at the warehouse, okay? Or maybe data workflow. So if you go here, you go to the data factory, and then from the NH demo, and then you can say new item, and you can look at the data flow generator. So what is the difference between data flow and data pipeline? So you can, in the data flow, you can use the data pipeline. Okay, so you create a data flow, then you can send the data to one or more destinations. Then you can execute the data pipeline. Okay, so it's a ETL, extract, transform, load, but it does the extract, transform. Data flow does the extract, transform, and then you can use a pipeline to load the data. Okay. So for this understanding, let's say, import from the CSV file. There is a little log thing that I added. All right. So everything that first thing you need is a data workspace. If you start over with this, and you always need a workspace, and then the data flow. Then you create the data flow. Then you come back to the thing. You create a you put in the file. So I'm going to use this file from the Microsoft site. All right. And that puts that connection string, and click next. Okay, so this gives create. You don't have to modify anything, delimiter anything, put it over there, just create it. Okay, so now this comes over here. Okay, so now we got it. On the toolbar, now these are the columns that we have, right? So this is from this file, but these are the columns. So you can also bring these values from the SQL Server, or you can, if you have the shortcut created, you can bring the data from your shortcut created, which is what we did for the time series export and converting to the parquet, and then you're reading it from the table. If you want to modify these columns, so you can do so by adding the custom columns. You go here and then add columns, and let's say custom columns. And I'm just following the demo example, month number, and there is going to be a data type. You're going to see the whole number, so it filters it out. Then you're going to say date dot month, and so it takes that value just for demo purpose. Click OK, and you got the value over there. Okay, so those are the values generated as a whole. Now you need to do the destination. In order to add the destination, click on the home tab, and then add data destination. That is add data destination, and we're going to select the lake house. Okay. Then next, and then you select what we want to do here. And in this case, we're going to select this one, and we can name it. It's a little challenging here to select this one always. Next. And you do the table name. They set orders for now. And then save settings. And those are the columns, so you're going to see it. And we have the destination created over here. And if you want to see the diagrams, you can go back to the views, in which we are already in the diagram over here, right? So source, and then art columns and everything over here. Then you can publish this one now. Okay. So now we create the data flow. So we have the data flow. It takes the data and then it puts the destination to the lake house. But it's still not adding the data into the table, right? So it's not there. If you go back to the data lake here, the table is not there. So we're going to run a pipeline to insert the table. Okay. So to do that, you have to go to the still creating, publishing it. Yes. Okay. You have to go to the data engineering. Data engineering. Okay, with the workspace, this is the one we are working right now. And then you click on the new item. You did that before, data pipeline. It doesn't matter. Let's keep the name, data pipeline 1. And then the pipeline activity. Okay, so click on the pipeline activity. Then there we're going to say, oh, wait a second, it's a data flow, pipeline activity, data flow, because you're going to use the flow in over here. Okay, in the data flow, go to the settings, that is a workspace, and then you have the data flow, spell data flow 1, and then you select the data. Okay. And then you just run validate it. If you want to validate, make sure it's something good. It has been validated, and then you run it and save and run, and it's going to put the data back into the table. This is how you do a data factory and data engineering. Data factory, now you use the data designer to create the flow, and then you use the data pipeline to insert the data. Okay. Let me take about 50 seconds also. Yeah, the file was slightly bigger. Should be done by now. Yeah, it is succeeded, right? So now, you can see what is the output was, say it's transmitted for long. You can look at the input parameter, what it is, you can see all these things. Now, if you go back to the data engineering, NH demo lake, that's our workspace. We look at it, this one, we still in the SQL view, there is artist table. The artist table over there. That's artist that we just created. So if you want to go back to the other view, we go back to the lake view, and then you can see the artist table there. That's a data table. Okay. So that's how we import the data. So now the two more concepts we're going to look at it right now is the data warehouse. So anything that you begin in the data Microsoft Fabric, the first thing you have is the workspace, then data lake, and then you build the concept, right? The data warehouse, you bring one or more data tables together, right? So in this particular example, I know we named it NH demo table, but technically app request, right? So you can have app request, app traces, and app exception, right? So if you go back over here, it has the app exceptions, app dependencies, app metrics, and app request, right? App traces, all those things, but there may be some common key between all those. If not, you can define a common key, then you can bring them together. Okay, so here is the app request. Then what is the, you can look at the only exception class and what are all the exceptions happen and so on. Okay, so to do that, you have to use the warehousing concept. So that you can bring one or more tables together. You define the relationship between those tables, fact table and dimension table. That's where the concept of fact table and dimension table come into a picture, right? That you can define it over there. Then you use a Power BI to generate the report. I think we have some time. Let's see how far we can go. Otherwise, I'll show one that I already created. Okay, so to do that, you're going to go back to the thing over here, and then you click on this. Again, you can switch it, go to data warehousing. Okay, in the data warehousing, we already have workspace. Okay, so we're going to select our workspace. That's our workspace. We're going to use it, create a new item, and then you're going to say warehouse over. So somewhere there will be warehouse over here. Okay, so just click on the warehouse. As I said before, you create a warehouse to bring one or more tables from one or more sources to bring it together, and you define a relationship. So you can, you define the fact and dimensions of those relationships, and you can effectively see that. I'm going to say demo warehouse. It. So you can create a table and then see all those things. Just to speed up some time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use, everything that I'm showing you over here is available on my slide that I'm going to post it. You can create a table and then you query it, but let's not waste the time. Let's go to the SQL query and then you paste the data, right? This is coming from a Microsoft demo. We create the diamond, product. That means that some rows, and it's going to create 4 different tables. Okay, that's all it does. Now we are in the SQL warehouse is nothing but a SQL, and you're going to run it, and it's going to import those data and so on. Okay, once this is done, then we can go back to show you SQL view, and then you can look at all the tables. Okay, it's succeeded, right? Yeah. Schema, DBO, tables, and you see those are the tables it's created. The customer, date, product, and fact, sales order. Those are the tables it's created. Now we're going to define the model, right? So in order to define the model, we have to click on the model. There's a little weird thing will happen here. Trust me. So I will try to do it. See that? That's what I meant. Okay, so it's here. So what you're going to do, it creates the request history. And again, I think this is request. It's a SQL tables. You don't need to worry about. These are the custom table, team customer, team date, team product. And then there's one more table at the end, fact sales. So we will move this table close to this so we can define some relationship for this data. Okay. So in order to define, this is the product key. This product key is going to go to team product. Okay, so here it is over here. That's the product. So I'm going to click on the product, click on this product key. It's going to open the window. Fact table product key, this product key, 1-to-1. Then okay, so right. We're going to repeat this for customer key to a team customer key, sales order data key to a data key. So we're going to select the customer key, and then we're going to say this over here. It's already pre-populated, and then you can just go save, and then sales order data key to a team date data key. So select it here, team date data key, and then again it's all pre-populated, and then save. Okay, now we define the relationship, how we want to bring them together. Okay, so if you want to query the data, you can query it. So for example, I also queries over here. You go back to the new SQL query and then paste it and then run it, and it gives you the data. Okay. All right, so you see some data. But again, we're trying to bring the concept to learn here is we're trying to bring more than one entities together, defining the relationship, and then we're trying to query up. Okay. Again, you can keep querying it, but let's also create some view. So how we can create this view across this table, right? So if I'm going to go back, this is again a SQL, right? Create a view sales by region, and then we have this table, factor, team, all those things. But you don't want to query multiple tables, but you want to bring everything condensed into one view. That's how we do, right? In the SQL Server, this is how we do. And 10 years ago, I used to be a SQL admin. I wrote a lot of SQL import, export utilities, but not anymore. Right now, I'm a cloud admin plus .NET architect. Anyway, if I create that one, that's going to create the view that contains all the data. Right? It's not copying, it's just creating a shadow. It's going to point to the source data. So it's created it. If you want to query this view, you can go here, paste it, and then run the query. You will get to see. But we will explore everything when it comes to visual query. Okay. So now what we're going to do, in this new query over here, we're going to create some visual queries, right? So what this does, we're going to drop the fact sales table. Yeah, we did it. We're going to track the, and then we're going to track the product table, product. Okay. Now we're going to map it, just visually seeing it, how these things goes over here. So if you hover over here, there is to be a sign, okay, and then you can select merge queries. Use the merge query. Yeah, merge queries. And then you see the product key from here, and then you select the team products. You see the is the product key or product name. Product key to product name. Okay, so we select the product name. Wait a second. Merge query is team product key. This also product. Sorry. So product key to product key, left out resign. We're going to do nothing change. Say okay. Okay. Now that's how we visually seeing it, how this flows through it. In the all right, so that we did that in the okay. In the team we go back to the merge queries. They say the product name here. It should say the others. All right, so let's cancel it. Okay. Now we did that, right? So now if you go back to this is an example how we can visualize the query, not log. You can do this using the SQL syntax. But if you want to see visualized model, this is how you do it. Track the table, and create the relationship. Okay. If you go back to the model layouts, we have already, but now we can remove these keys, right? So we have the key here, sales order date key that, we did that, we don't need it for the reporting purpose, so you can hide it. Product key, we don't need it, so you can hide it. Either you can click that icon or you can see here, hide it reporting. Okay, so we're only going to hide it on the report. And then similarly, a customer key, similarly, repeat that for the team customer key and alt key. Customer key, and then the alt key, and then the team date, and then you're going to go alt key, and then the date key. Some keys may be redundant because we're creating the mapping, so those data is not important. Those keys are important to create the mappings, but you don't really need to see the data and see those values of those keys. So product key, product alt key, so you go back over here, hide it, and then hide it again here. Okay. All right, so we did that. So now what we're going to do, so now we create the data model. Now we can do a new reporting. Okay, so if we go and create a new reporting, and then you can select, okay, and then continue. This may throw some errors at times, but sounds like it did not. It's a good thing, right? So now we have all the tables listed over here, right? So if you look back in any tables, the columns that we hide is not there, okay? And other columns are there. So now we can drag some columns here from the fact table. I mean, at this point, it just exploration, right? So we want to know the, say, the product table to product name, quantity. Okay, so we have the product name and quantity. It's going to load the data. Okay, it's going to load the data, and then if you need a chart, you can put the chart over there. That gives you the chart functionality. Okay. Now, if you want to apply the Copilot over here, again, this is the data warehouse Copilot. Remember, Copilot is there everywhere. Okay. This is the data warehouse Copilot. You can ask if you don't know what to ask, and you can look at the prompt. Hey, what is my data? Get a report that shows. That shows, that shows the best month. It's going to do best month. Best all time. I'm just picking something. I know that I'm just text before, but you got the concept, right? There is a Copilot everywhere. That's the take. Again, it takes all the data and sending back to OpenAI and then getting the output. Okay, so that's why you have to do all those consent. You need to enable a distribute. So here it is, daily revenue by month, revenue by sales region, 20 year. It did something, but maybe you can tweak this. If you don't like it, this is not something. I don't think this is something I did. I was asking the best all-time month, but it gives me didn't give me what I'm exactly looking for, obviously. But you can undo it. So it's going to remove everything, and then you can keep tweak the prompt until you get what exactly you want, right? So it's going to learn from you. You ask one thing, and then if it's not correct, and then you just tweak the prompt, give some more instruction, give more samples, and it's going to eventually get it. Okay, so if I don't think I'm happy with that report, I'm going to undo it. It's good, stop. Okay, that's a data warehouse. Again, the takeaway is data warehouse. You can bring one or more tables from the disconnected data sources, and then you define the mapping, and then you generate the reports for analysis purposes. Okay. The last concept what we're going to look at is we are clock, but it may take another 15-20 minutes. I don't want to wait you guys, but I will go from there. Okay, save it. Okay, so we're going to look at the real-time intelligence in Microsoft. Okay. So I'm going to go back and then click on the real-time. I wanted to do it. Okay. So now I go Power BI and then I say real-time intelligence. And this time I'm not going to use this because we have to build everything, start over. So I'm going to use this one. Okay, this workspace. If you look at that workspace, we already built, event to stream, so you technically going to go here and then you pick the event to stream. Okay, so you are right now in a real-time intelligence. You have to pick the event house. You see the lake house? So we have to pick the event house. So if you look at it, there is an event house over here somewhere. Okay. This is my lake house. There is an event house. Okay, there is an event house. Then you set the event, and this is going to use the KQL-based tools. Then you pick the events that coming from, and then in this example, we did the sample loading, but in a real world example, you can get tens and hundreds of input from the thermostat, IoT devices, you name it, anything you want, all right, or mobile devices or signals or anything you name it, that's the event is going to come. And then you can create a report based on that. And then you can, then attach the event stream, then you can create a report, and then you can do alert. Okay. So if we go back and I have one alert. So let's look at the event house. That's the event house. Okay. So it tells us the what is been going on the event house. Activity in minutes, 94 minutes, one database. And all the insight gives me this stock, right? So we import the stock data. So I set in some alert. You send me when there is some changes. Good example. The stock data is streaming data, is constantly changing, right? And then you can set up alert. Certain stock goes down or up. You can set it up over here. That's going to send it to you, or you can set up some action. Okay, if this goes below this and that, right? So you can buy it. So how the event alert is going to look like the way that I set it up. So I'm going to bring one sample over here. So here is a sample setting the email. This activation is happening December 12, 2024 UTC, by 27 minutes ago. Okay, or just 4 minutes ago. 4.5 hours, right? 4 minutes. So you got that concept. That's that demo itself will take 20 minutes. We are top of the time, but I provided all the links in my PowerPoint. If you go back to my PowerPoint over here, and this will be available when we post the recordings. So you go back to references. So the demo references. Right? So sometimes I don't need to put the links. Here. If you go here, that's the place, and then you will get into every single demo that I walk you through. I almost covered all the demos except the real time. I know this is not enough time to do the 7th demo. If you did yours, I hope I covered all the demo that I demoed you. It's technically coming from here, except the time series data. Okay, time series data I took it from my previous demo, which is the asset snaps analytics. That's where I use this time series data, and so you got everything plus time series from this, but you will get this PowerPoint slide in less than 3 to 4 days. We will try to upload last meeting and this meeting.